Age description of something that does pertain to the physical realm, to this storehouse of ancestral knowledge, which also contains, our current experiences would also be in there, at least to some extent. So if these beings exist on this plane, maybe they've existed on this plane for thousands of years. Then if they're like Castaneda's inorganic beings, then they would live immeasurably longer than we do. And so they quite possibly have figured out ways to access information or knowledge that we can't access, even though it's ours. It actually pertains to us, but they would have access to it, and that would give them an enormous advantage in terms of fooling us.
Yeah, well, it's funny though how they're unable to fool us completely. It's like they construct this identity, but there's always holes in that, it's like they're trying to convince us, but they're also leaving it a little bit open so that if you do look into their stories closely enough, you'll find holes in it. So it's kind of like it just seems to be the case with all of this paranormal stuff. You can't prove it without a doubt. It's like it, leaves a little bit of room for doubt on purpose, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like them playing fair, isn't it?
Could you explain that a little bit more?
Well, like there would be a universal law that says that
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm not going to continue that train of thought, because although I think there might be something in it, it's very new agey, and I think that what's probably closer to the truth of the matter is that these beings actually really don't know what it is to be human, and so, like the Men in Black that John Keel describes, they don't really quite know how to get it right. They've got all the components and they put it together and they make this simulation of what they think that we think it is to be human, but as you say, there's always holes in it, because they're creating a simulation, they're imitating behavior without actually having experienced it from the inside.
Yeah.
So they probably don't really understand what it is to have a separate identity the way that we do, or even to have free will, or the illusion of free will.
Yeah.
It's the feeling I get, is that they're not autonomous beings the way that we experience ourselves as, and that's because they're not separate beings the way that we experience ourselves, and they're not physical. If we allow the collective unconscious, then we're only separate because we're physically, incarnated. We're grounded in the physical, so we've got that actual hard nuts and bolts separation between us. If you imagine a discarnate realm in which, with energy forms that are kind of fields of consciousness, fields of awareness, then the area of overlap would be much, much greater. It was like, even if you got close to another being, then you would begin to merge with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you sort of see these entities as I remember you once described them as sort of disowned aspects of our own, humanity's psyche. I know you certainly you talk about grey aliens and stuff being disowned aspects of our own psyche. Do you think that's the case with these channeled entities as well?
Well, I think, isn't that sort of what we're talking about, really? Because they may be entities unto themselves out there, but they're only able to interact with us through our own unconscious matter.
Yeah.
So then it's not either or, it's both and.
Yeah.
But we can only really experience them as they are by first re-owning the disowned matter that they're using to trick us, or to communicate with us. So then I don't think, if somebody were to hear what you just described as my idea, they would think, oh, well, he's just dismissing it. They're just projections of our psyche. But it's not that at all. It's that I think that they are real and independent of us, but we're only experiencing them through the filter of our own disowned, those areas of our consciousness. So in order to really understand what they are, we first of all have to take from them what it is that they're showing us.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I would approach the whole thing. You know, that it's not about figuring out what these entities are, but what are the ways in which they are actually overlapping with those aspects of our psyche as individuals and collectively, that is creating this confusion and this impossibility to communicate.
Yeah. I was just thinking about alien abduction and how, in some cases, it seems as though these entities are able to make a full physical manifestation into this realm. I mean, I think that's, maybe that's their aim. They want to try and break through into this reality.
Seems to be.
Yeah, I don't know. It sort of seems. I mean, when you look back at spiritualism and that occurred before the whole contactee phenomenon, then we have the alien abduction phenomenon. I think it could be the same entities at work, and it seems as though maybe they're managing to break through a little bit more now. With you have UFO sightings, and do you think it's possible that they're able to, physically manifest in this reality? What's your interpretation of alien abduction experiences? Do you think they might just be like sort of astral experiences, or?
It's a tough question, because there's also the overlap with the human agency and the psyops, which are simulating these alien abduction experiences, and they would be I say they would be. They might be very physical experience. They also could be induced hallucinations using image to brain technology and what have you. So in terms of these beings actually becoming physical, I guess we bring it back to what I was talking about at the beginning, is like when we start to experience ourselves as in the subtler energy, subtler degrees on the energy spectrum, so we're less just hard physical matter and more refined physical, astral and so on, then we're encountering these beings and they're becoming more physical. So it's as though we're learning to tune to higher frequencies of consciousness, which are less physical, and then these entities are meeting us there, and so then maybe they're following us back. Maybe they're learning to be more physical by seeing and teaching us to do it also.
Yeah.
So then they're tuning us to their frequency, and in return to being able to tune to our frequency.
Okay.
That's a possibility. I really don't know about this. I've had encounters with beings that, to all intents and purposes, appeared to be, like aliens, like non-human, but humanoid and what have you. It's only on very rare occasions has it been seemed to be physical, even in the dream realm. I remember one time that I actually made a conscious decision that I want to experience these beings the way that abductees experience them, as grey aliens, as physical beings, and they were then, my encounter with them was, as it were, with these sort of very clammy snail-like beings that had sexual organs like snails that came in and out, like snails' horns that could emerge and return and disappear into their physical being. And it was very oppressive and uncomfortable, like physically interacting with them. Like, it's just really distasteful, the whole experience. And possibly, I'm not sure if this was my impression or if it was something that I got from Striva that he said, but that it was kind of unpleasant for them too, to actually to be that restricted, that limited to a purely physical expression.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, it seems as though we're dealing with, a lot of different types of entities here. So it's hard to say, but I know that with poltergeist disturbances, it's as though these entities have managed to break into the physical realm a little bit by creating sounds that everyone can hear while they're fully awake.
Right.
Of course,
But the thing with
yep.
poltergeist, sorry to interrupt, but it's Colin Wilson's research is that poltergeists the phenomenon tends to occur around adolescent girls.
Yeah.
The suggestion being that awakening sexuality, it releases a great deal of psychic energy, and that the poltergeists are able to actually use that psychic energy to become more real and manifest. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. And this person, the focus, as it's called, the person around whom the phenomena occurs is a sort of unconscious medium. Yes, so the entity is working through this person without them being fully conscious of it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I was just thinking how I think it's possible, that alien abductees are unconscious mediums, and that maybe if there was enough belief generated in these entities, these grey aliens, then it's possible that these entities are able to make a full physical manifestation. It may not last so very long. I know that John Keel talks about these entities manifesting physically and trying to act like humans, and then they'll suddenly disappear. It's as though they're not able to sustain their existence on the physical realm.
Right. So then this goes back to tulpa creation as well. If human beings actually have this power to materialize thought forms and actually make them physically real, which there are definitely accounts in the East at least of yogis who are able to materialize physical matter like food that people can eat.
Yeah.
So if there is that potential to really bring something from the realm of the imagination into physical existence, and if this is particular to us as human beings, then what you're saying is that mediums and or alien abductees would be a channel through which these entities could actually enter into the physical realm.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Using our psychic energy to do
it. And probably, certainly draining our psychic energy as a result as well, by us giving them a lot of attention, I suppose.
So then they would probably use intense emotions to do this. Like if we're in a state of terror, for example, then that's a hell of a lot of energy that we're releasing, and also, of course, that relates to the belief in them. The more intense our terror is, the more we believe that something is actually there that's provoking the terror, and then it's sort of it would accumulate, because the more we believe there's something there, the greater our terror, and all of that energy could be feeding into this thought form that we're creating, which would have been shaped by reading books and watching movies and all the rest of it. So we'd be like creating an image or a tulpa that would more or less meet our expectation of what we're encountering, or our interpretation, and then the entity, which is formless, could actually use that like a shell to enter into and become physically manifest in this realm.
Yeah, which makes you wonder whether or not we should these entities
talk about it,
or even talk about it. Yeah. But yeah, you kind of wonder, like, should you give this stuff much attention, or is it pointless? I mean, if you give them more attention, then that's gonna, give them more energy. But then again, you don't want to. If it is a sort of, if they are disowned aspects of our psyche, then we should, I guess, try and integrate them in some way. So it's hard to know how to do that.
Yeah, well, I think it's as I say, it's both and. So if we were to use the experience of these entities and the emotions that they trigger to go inward, instead of pointing the finger at the moon and actually focusing outward and creating these tulpas that they can use then to access our realm and become real, then we get caught in that loop and we just become food for them. The alternative would be to bring an awareness to the experience and take that awareness inward. Say, okay, I'm dealing with terror now.